And the next thing he's going to give us is frankincense. Okay? So let me read that again. It says, sorry about that. And when any will offer, and that word, look it up, karab, it means to approach. So you're approaching him. Still same concept. Let's go back again. And I'm sorry. But we're striving to bring these things to light. And he called. Remember that? And he called. He summoned and he invited. All right? So now we're getting instructions on what to do. And when any will offer kara, to approach, a minchah korban unto Yahweh, his korban shall be a fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense thereon. So now we're at the frankincense. Okay? Now this term is lebonah. Lebonah. Okay? Now the term lebonah comes from number 3828. Now the first thing it has here is from 3826. Not so. It may be connected in some way, shape, or form, but that's not where this word is derived from. We want to see. So it has frankincense, but then it has in parentheses from its whiteness, or perhaps that of its smoke. Okay? Again, the term that this is actually derived from, lebonah, is actually 3835. So I'm going to put that under here. 3835. But this word is Laban. Now you may, if you're familiar with the history of Israel, in the English they pronounce this as Laban. This was a relative of Yaakov. Okay? Remember, Yaakov was sent to Laban's house. Laban, I believe, had 2 daughters. If I'm remembering that's correct. Let me check that real quick. Need to fact check that. Sometimes I too get a little thrown aback when it comes to that history. So give me a moment. Let me just fact check that before I go on. Okay. Okay, Rebecca. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. Laban was Rebecca's brother. Okay, that's what it was. Now initially, Abraham sent his servant to that house, okay, to get a wife for his son. Now Rebecca was the sister of Laban. So later on, when Jacob is sent there, Jacob went to Laban's house too. Laban is Jacob's uncle. Okay? And now what Jacob is about to do, he's about to get introduced to his wives. Okay? So that's where it is. Okay? I knew there was something about this name, but I had to go back and get a refresher real quick. Okay? So now, Lebonah, number 3828, comes from 3835, which is Laban, or Laban. Alright? But what does Laban mean? It's a primitive root to be white, become white, or it says as a denominative from number 3843, to make bricks. Now, why would this term have anything to do with making bricks? Well, it's because of this root here. Now you see this term, you see the bet and you see the nun. You see the bet, you see the nun. See, that bet and that nun is the parent root for the term Biynah, which means to build. So now what we're doing, we see Biynah, see, same parent root, understanding, also has a connection to building. Now we're seeing Lebonah, which means frankincense. And if you ever seen frankincense is basically these little white stones. I meant to bring some up for you, but it's downstairs, so we're just going to keep it going. Most High willing, if I can remember, next week I'll bring some up for those who may not be familiar with it, so you can see what it is. Frankincense are just these little white stones, and what you do, you light up a piece of charcoal, you put the little stones on the charcoal, and it has a very specific fragrance that it emits when you light it up. Okay, so that's frankincense. So it's called this because of the whiteness of the stones. Okay, literally. But it comes from Laban, which also means to be white, and it also has a connection to bricks. Wow, think about something. When they were making bricks during that time, right? One of the things that they had to do, they had to heat it up in order for it to get hard. And a lot of times when you heat something up like that, it becomes white, or looks like it's white. You know, it may cool down and become another color, but when you put that heat to it, it starts to look like it's white. So that's where you get the idea, or even a connection of making the bricks from. But let's go back. You have the fine flour, which is solet, which has the implication now. Now, let's first start getting into that. Literally it means fine flour, oil, frankincense. Okay, and we're going to see that as we get into the specifics of the sacrifice or the offering itself. But now we're looking at some of the things that are being implied. Something that's going to be broken down. Because when you get into the fine flour, it comes from wheat. You don't just offer the wheat. You have to break down the wheat and get the fine flour. Okay? That's why it comes from this term, solet, to strip. Now you have to add the oil to it. Now you're going to bring some, not only just the shine to it, but you're going to make it rich. Okay? So now, not only are you going to make it rich, now you're going to add some frankincense to it. See? And when you add the frankincense, not only are you going to bring it a pleasant fragrance, and even when you think about that, see, when you get into your senses now, what is that you're smelling? A lot of times, we can see smoke, sometimes, you know, but even after the smoke has dissipated, you still have that fragrance in the air. You can't see it, but you can smell it. And if you just do this right now with me, what are you doing? You're inhaling something that, for all intent and purposes, is invisible. You're inhaling spirit. See, when you say the term spirit, breath, wind, it is exactly the same thing. It comes from the same term, ruach. See? So there's something spiritual even that's going to happen. So now, in one sense, you can look at the sacrifice as pointing to Mashiach on a greater level, of course. But if he's calling us, and we're approaching by way of what we give, are we also indicating what's going to happen to us? Think about that. Are we also giving an indication of what takes place with us as people? Now, when you go back to the Olah, the burnt offering, we can tie that into something that Brother Shaul said, how he wrote to the assembly at Rome. That we be not conformed to this world, but that we be transformed by the renewing of our mind. That we present our bodies a living sacrifice. That we may prove what is holy, what is acceptable. See, and what we're discussing in the sacrificial system, it is the way of acceptable approach. So these things that we're given, literally, are what they are, but they also have another implication. It is teaching us, it is pointing to what has to happen to us as individuals. See, we have to be broken down, just like that fine flour. See, what does it mean broken down? We have to be broken down, and we have to be built back up. You see, because this is exactly what happens. They take the wheat, they break it down, they grind it, then they start to build it back up into something else. Something that is acceptable. The oil. See what that points to? See, the oil symbolically points to the Spirit of the Most High. You see? To be anointed. See, that's what it ties into. And then when we are anointed, now, the frankincense, now we can emit a pleasant fragrance to the Most High. In other words, the fact that even connects to the term bet nun. See? That implies that the house is continuing. You see that? But anyway, fine flour, oil, frankincense. These are the ingredients. Alright? So let's move on a little further and see some of the other information that we have in regard to the minchah. In Leviticus chapter 2, picking up at verse 2. And he shall bring it to Aharon's sons, the priest, and he shall take. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start getting into a breakdown. There's some terms that you may come across when you get into Hebrew culture even. Okay? Because all of this is an extension of Hebrew culture or Israeli culture, the livelihood and the lifestyle of the people of the book. Alright? So, when it says, and he shall take, a term that you may be familiar with, or if not, komets, that which is taken. Alright? It says, and he shall bring it unto Aharon's sons, the priest, and he shall take komets, bear out his handful of the flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof, and the priest shall burn the memorial of it upon the Mizbeach. So, you're going to be brought as a Kohen or as a priest. You're going to be brought these items. You take the handful, okay, and you're going to burn the memorial. In other words, whatever you're burning on the altar, that is the portion that has been designated for the Most High. Okay? It says, and isheh, an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto Yahweh. It says, and the remnant of the minchah. Now, when it says the remnant, whatever's left over. So whatever they bring you, being Israel, as a minchah, you, as a Kohen, you're going to take that. You're going to take a handful of it. You're going to put a handful of that on the altar. Okay? That is the portion designated to the Creator. But the remnant, the remainder of that, listen to what it says. And the remnant of the minchah shall be Aharon's and his sons. And let me just, as a sidebar again, and at some point, I believe that the whole system of tithes and offerings may be coming up in Leviticus. This is another means by which the Creator is taking care of the Kohen and the Levim. Okay? This is another way he does it. All of these offerings that are being given, and as we go through, we're going to see some of the offerings were, of course, outside of the whole burnt offering, you offer that entire animal. But some of the offerings, they were cut up. Certain pieces are going to be burned on the altar, and the rest of it goes to the priest. So this is a part of his livelihood. Matter of fact, I believe Brother Shaul, he wrote how the Kohen or the priest, they lived off of those things that the people offered. Now this is just the offerings part. That doesn't have anything to do with the tithing part, which we'll talk about that at some other point, most high willing. So let me read Leviticus chapter 2, verse 3 again. And the remnant of the minchah shall be Aharon's and his sons, a thing most holy. Remember that. Kodesh, Kadashim. A thing most holy. Kodesh, Kadashim. Bible students, why? Why is that a thing most holy? Okay? It says, a thing most holy of the Isheh to Yahweh. Verse 4. It says, And if thou bring a korban of a minchah, baking in the oven. So now we're going to get into the different types of minchah sacrifices. All right? Now, you have what's called minchah. This first one. This is ma'apeh. Ma'apeh. Excuse me. Tanur. Okay? Mincha, ma'apeh, tanur. And what that is, the mincha that is baked in an oven. Now, what's interesting about all of these different ways, and again, as Bible students, we have to ask the question, why? Okay? Why is it given all of these specific ways to offer the mincha? Now, that's one way. Okay? The mincha, ma'apeh, tanur, baked in an oven. But if you do a research of the different terms, this in particular, this word simply meaning how it was prepared, baked. But this is the word that implies the oven, tanur. Get an opportunity, look up each of these terms, and it actually takes you into why that particular device and what that points to. Right? But then you have another one. It says, okay, with the mincha ma'apeh tanur, it'll be one of two things. It shall be unleavened cakes, which is chalot, or it says unleavened wafers, which is rekiki. Okay? So it's going to be one or the other. It says, and if thou bring a korban of a mincha baken in the oven, it shall be unleavened cakes of fine flour mingled with oil, or unleavened wafers anointed with oil. So that's one way, all right? And it'll be one of these two, chalot or rekiki. Now the other way that you can make it, it says in verse 5, and if thy korban be a mincha in a pan. Okay? Now what this is mincha al hamach abat. Mincha al mach habat. Hamachabat. Right? And what is that? This is the mincha on a pan. Okay? So again, it's referring to the manner in which the flour and the oil and the frankincense, well, the flour and the oil, first of all, is prepared. Okay? And now it says, let me read verse 5 and 6 for you. And if thy korban be a mincha in a pan, it shall be a fine flour unleavened, mingled with oil. Thou shalt part it in pieces and pour oil thereon. It is a mincha. And the third piece, let me erase these so I can have some more room. So, right. Third one says, verse 7, and if thy korban be a mincha in the frying pan. So this one is mincha and mar cheshet. And that is in the frying pan. it shall be made of fine flour with oil. Right? So we have three different types. Let me just review those again. You have the minchah ma'apeyah tanur, which would be either unleavened cakes, chalot, or unleavened wafers, rekiki. You have the minchah al hamachabat, which simply means that it was baked in a pan. Then you have the minchah marcheshet, which is baked in a frying pan. And again, when you look up the different terms, you look up the marcheshet, or when you look up hamachabat, or when you look up tanur. Matter of fact, let me do this for you. Some homework. Tanur, hamachabat, and marcheshet. These are the three different ways that you can prepare the minchah, or the meal offering. Now, do some research, and when I say do some research, get into the mechanics of the term, how it has been formed. Okay? Get down into the parent root, and that's going to take you into different meanings behind each of these words here. Okay? There's a little side bar for you all who are watching and following along with the program. Okay, so let's pick back up in Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 8. It says, "And thou shalt bring the minchah that is made of these things unto Yahweh. And when it is presented," that's our term again, karab, to approach. "And when it is presented unto the priest, he shall bring it unto the mizbeach. And the priest shall take from the minchah a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the mizbeach. It is an isheh of a sweet savor unto Yahweh. And that which is left of the minchah," okay, "shall be Aharon's and his sons, a thing most holy," Kodesh Kadashim, "of the offerings of Yahweh made by fire," or the Isheh. Verse 11, "No minchah which ye shall bring unto Yahweh shall be made with leaven. For ye shall burn no leaven nor any honey in any offering of Yahweh made by fire," or once again, any fire offering, any isheh. Now with that being said, we want to add something to this. Okay? What we're learning here, and think about it, and what we've been emphasizing, it says, Kodesh Kadashim, a thing most holy, right? What was so holy about it? It was unleavened. Think about that. It was unleavened, all right? Now, if this was incorporated as part of the priest's food, this is what you got to keep in mind. This is how they ate. It is a thing most holy. What are we learning from this? Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 6. What are we being taught from this? Now, let me lay something up for you before I even get to that. Do this first. Okay. Now, hopefully you can see all of this is 1 through 7. All right. Now, of course, we know when we go back to Bereshit, the creation, day 1, day 2, day 3, etc. 7th day, Shabbat, end of the week. What comes after 7, start counting all over again. Okay, so there's a process that the Most High has laid out, and we go through it. 1st day, 2nd day, 3rd day, all the way to the 7th, and then repeat. And we do this constantly. Now, one of the things that you know about repetition, repetition was instituted to teach you. You're going over something again and again and again because there's something that the Most High wants to incorporate in your mind. So in this particular case, we're looking at a system based on the number 7. Okay? It is a method that he has established regarding time. Now, one of the prophecies talks about how a day to Yahweh is like 1,000 years. So when we look at these, not just 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, but start looking at it now, 1 millennium, 2 millennium, 3 millennium. So you have a total of 7 millennium, 7,000 years, okay, that the Most High is working with, okay? So now, based on this system of 7, not only is he incorporating, the time in regard to the days of the week, he's also incorporating in our mind, in what you may even refer to as our subconscious, the idea that there is a system that he has created for humanity, and it is a 7,000-year process. Okay? Now, of course, we have the 7th-day Sabbath, and we're going to get into all of this a little later. But as a sidebar, since we're here and we're seeing something, as we're in chapter 2 of Leviticus, regarding unleavened bread. And there's a thought that the Most High put on my mind to share with everybody. So, that being said, in Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 6, it says, "And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread." So now, there is one of the annual observances called Chag HaMatzah. We'll get into that a little further when we get to Leviticus 23. But one of the commands, as we see here, for 7 days, we are supposed to eat unleavened bread. Now, there are a lot of different explanations that you can give in regard to that, but we want to focus on what we're looking at right now. The fact that when this minchah was being presented to the Kohanim and the Levites, right? Matter of fact, specifically the Kohanim, not even the Levites, but the priests in general. When we look at that, it says it is a thing most holy. Why is it a thing most holy? Well, one, look at the preparation of it. Number 1, okay? It's unleavened. That's why he gives the specific command, don't add any leaven to it. He also said not to add any honey. What's that all about? But you're not going to add anything into it but what I said. Which means you got your flour, you got your oil, and then you got your frankincense. Okay? Thing most holy. So why is it that every year he gives us an observance that for 7 days, and these 7 days actually point to 7 millennium. He's teaching us something. But for 7 days, first and foremost, we're supposed to eat unleavened bread. We're supposed to eat, let's say it this way, the food that was designated for the priest. Think about that for a moment. We're supposed to eat a thing most holy, so to speak. That's the thought. But why? There's a passage that refers to a royal priesthood. He's talking about his people. He called them a royal priesthood. In other words, you're talking about a people who would be kings and priests. That's what he's saying. And we're talking about the entire nation of Israel. That's one of the reasons why he commanded this festival. And it is another reason why. Okay? There are other things we can get into later, but just keep that thought in mind. That when he commands us to do this, we are now eating the food of the priesthood. Okay? And I thought that was an interesting little tidbit just to build on as we continue our journey through Biynah Thurah. Okay? Now, in verse 12, listen to what he says. Matter of fact, let me read 11 and 12 together. It says, "No minchah which ye shall bring unto Yahweh shall be made with leaven. For ye shall burn no leaven, nor any honey in any offering of Yahweh made by fire, right? And as for the korban of the first fruits, ye shall offer them unto Yahweh, but they shall not be burnt on the altar for a sweet savor. So why did he say that in verse 12? So for those who are already practicing the high holy days, okay, there's 7 annual high holy days. Well, there's one particular high holy day, which we're going to look at right now. Again, Leviticus chapter 23, but verse 17. It says, ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven, the first fruits unto Yahweh. So when he says this in Leviticus chapter 2, verse 12, as for the korban of the first fruit, he's referring to this. There's one, however, that you're going to bring to me with leaven, but you're not going to burn it on the altar for a sweet savor. Okay? That's why he said that. And when we get to, again, Leviticus 23, we'll touch on why these are baked with leaven, opposed to the others. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 13 now. It says, and every korban of thy minchah shalt thou season with salt. What's that about? So we have something else that's been added. We have the fine flour, we have the oil, we have the frankincense, but now he's saying not just those, you got another piece to add to it. It has to be salted with salt. Why? What is up with the salt? It says, neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy mighty one to be lacking from thy minchah. With all thine offerings thou shalt offer salt. Why? Now listen to that. This is a command. With all your offerings, offer salt. Now, what should be coming to people's mind, especially if you're familiar with the Brit HaChadashah, the New Testament, and there's something very specific Mashiach says, and we're going to look at one of those instances. It comes from Mark chapter 9, verses 49 and 50. It says, for everyone shall be salted with fire, and every sacrifice shall be salted with salt. What is he talking about? If you read a little further up in Mark chapter 9, he's talking about things that offend you. If your right hand offend thee, cut it off. If your left foot offend thee, cut it off. If your right eye offend thee, pluck it out. He's saying all these different things. In other words, think about it. My right hand, remember what we were talking about with the flour, right? See, that wheat that's growing up from the earth? So in order for it to be used and bring sustenance, you don't just eat it right off the ground. You got to break it down to the fine flour, and you got to make something else out of it. See, again, that is a reference to us. So when he said cutting off that right hand, cutting off that right foot, plucking out that right eye, we are being broken down. See, we have to be broken down. Why? Because there are pieces of us that are offensive. So we have to get rid of it. So he adds this right after he starts saying all of that, and if you read the chapter, you'll see the point. For everyone shall be salted with fire. What is he talking about? He's referencing now the offerings. What is he talking about, salted with fire? Then he goes on to say, and every sacrifice shall be salted with salt. Now think about salt. And let me finish reading first. Salt is good. But if the salt have lost its saltness, wherewith will ye season it? Have salt in yourselves, and have peace with one another. So now, he's talking about us. How is he talking about us? What we have to now come to see. During this time and this era that we're living in, guess who the sacrifices are? It's us. We are the sacrifices for the purpose of the people. We are sacrificing, we're giving up our lives. See, we talked about that salt. Salt is a preservative. See? In other words, you can tie preserve